Stay-at-home orders and social distancing mandates have severely limited operations. Oh, sorry. Next one. Vital. Stay-at-home orders and social distancing mandates have severely limited vital operations, with closed restaurants, schools, stores leading to farmers in California with no market. That includes the dairy industry. According to reports, dairy farmers nationwide are dumping 3.5 million gallons of milk a day. We welcome in Valley dairy farmer and former District 21 Congressman David Valadao, who is also campaigning to regain the seat that he lost from Congressman T.J. Cox. So, David, welcome back to Sunday Morning Matters. Obviously, during this time, how is the pandemic really impacting you as a dairy farmer?
Well, obviously, the price crashing over the last couple months is, especially the last month, has been pretty bad. Watching futures drop to prices we haven't seen in decades is amazing, and we're seeing in a lot of different sectors. But dairy took it pretty hard, and it's going to be a tough number of months, if not years, for farmers for a while.
And I opened up by talking about, we saw a report that 3.5 million gallons of dairy has been dumped across the nation during the pandemic. Do you have a sense of what's being dumped here in the Valley? Because obviously schools and restaurants are all closed. This is a big, huge dairy source that you guys contribute to on a daily basis. So what's that like? Even for you, what's the dump like every day?
So my personal family farm has not had to dump, but yeah, within the different co-ops, I've heard talk of some dairy farmers having to dump. I don't know if the processors themselves are actually reporting those numbers or if it's getting out publicly, but yeah, there is some dairies out there actually having to dump milk. I mean, markets dried up, and yeah, there's not as much fluid milk on the shelf, and you're seeing some of that from the consumer side where there's complaints that there's limits on what they can buy. But asking a processor to retool for making 400-pound totes of butter to put milk in 1-gallon jugs is not something you can do easily, and so some of our processors are really struggling with the different markets and the dynamics the way they're moving forward.
You know, President Trump, as you know, approved that $19 billion for farmers. He did that last week, but it does come with some limitations here. There's $125,000 per commodity, $250,000 per individual or entity payment. So some limitations there. And earlier this week, we heard from several congressmen on a bipartisan letter telling the president there should not be limitations to these payouts. Where's your take on this, especially because you're in the midst of it?
Well, I mean, California, because our dairy industry, we're 20% of the nation's milk, and we also have one of the largest average herd sizes in the nation. And so the $250,000 or $150,000 limitation is something that does affect dairy farmers specifically, because for it to actually have an impact, the average herd that's benefiting from that is about 300 cows. The average herd in the state of California is up over 1,000 cows, getting closer to 2,000 cows. And so we are disadvantaged, and it does hurt California dairymen a little bit different than it helps other dairymen across the nation.
You know, there's been a huge controversy once Governor Newsom said he wants to help undocumented workers, especially undocumented farm workers, to get some type of relief, and that is help through nonprofits that take care of undocumented. First of all, I want to get your take. Is undocumented workers, are they essential? And what's your take on helping them with some relief here?
So, and this is one of the problems I've had for a long time with immigration, is we need to get it resolved. And I've been one of the most vocal advocates for immigration reform in general, because we shouldn't have these types of fights, especially when we're having a pandemic. As far as the undocumented workforce, in agriculture, yes, absolutely they're essential. They play a huge role in making sure we have food on our tables, and I think we need to take care of them to the best of our ability. But I think the most important avenue that we really have to target is to make sure that we're not playing this game of dividing our population. We've got to find a way to figure out who these people are and get through the process and make sure the ones that are here to help us and be a good standing citizens, allow them that opportunity to do so. And those who are not, obviously, shouldn't play a part in our communities, and that's why I'm frustrated with the whole process in general.
So you're in favor of helping aid at this time the undocumented worker?
I'm in favor of helping those who are essential. I'm in favor of helping our businesses and our communities. I'm in favor of helping people who desperately need it. But I don't want to play the game of undocumented or not, making sure that we help people who are essential, people who are out there working hard, and take care of them.
You know, President Trump also looking to sign an executive order to block the border at this point in time, to not have immigrants come into the country. He says he wants the American worker to have those jobs ready for them and not to have any competition. Is that more of a political move than you think, more about the pandemic?
Well, I think he's leaving the opportunity open still for some guest workers, and he's even been pretty supportive on opening up some more on the agricultural workforce, and it's something that we desperately need. We are struggling to find people, but this time, especially with the pandemic and everything going on, and we're seeing plants close across the nation. There's a Cargill plant in the Midwest that just closed today. There's plants that process animals all over the country that are struggling to find healthy workers, but it just is a complicated time to try to get into the immigration debate. We want to make sure that we have people able to work and make sure that we put food on people's tables, but also give the American worker the first opportunity to do those jobs if they're healthy and able to do so. But we've got to thread very carefully on this, because we want to make sure that we're not hurting ourselves and not being able to deliver food to consumers.
You sound like you're in campaign mode right now, as you are. The problem is you can't really campaign because you're kind of stuck at home. How is this affecting you? Do you think it could actually compromise your chance of winning back the seat for District 21?
Well, I actually have stronger name ID than the incumbent. All polling has showed that. I came out in first place in this primary. I mean, as far as campaigning, we've been doing very well. Our fundraising's been doing very well, and the support throughout the district. I mean, if you just look at the sheer numbers, the fundraising from the district specific, I mean, I don't think my opponent's getting 1% of his resources from the district. That tells me he's the folks who are giving him money and supporting him can't actually vote for him, and I think that's a real problem for him, and it's one that he's going to struggle with. 2018 was an anomaly. I think it's not going to be the same in 2020. I think we're going to have a more balanced electorate, and I think it's going to give me a real opportunity to win. As far as campaigning, we're both in the same boat right now. I mean, we're both limited on what we can do. We want to make sure, at least I want to make sure, that I'm respectful of the situations going on with COVID-19, not putting any campaign workers at risk. I want to make sure I keep everyone safe, but also make sure that I'm not sending someone to a door and passing along COVID-19 or other illnesses. So it does complicate things,
yeah.
But I still think I'm in a really good position to win this.
All right. Former Congressman David Valadao and dairy farmer. Hey, we appreciate your time. Please stay safe.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Coming up, holding Governor Newsom accountable. A number of state lawmakers calling the governor's spending on the pandemic into question. A report from the state capitol next.